Hello, 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 world, and welcome to Mrs. Best Reviews B3ST. Today we have James back from Watch Your Mouth Reviews 833 on YouTube. We are here to recap the second episode of the new Bravo show, Summer House Martha's Vineyard. So, just overall, just before we dig into all the little semantics and stuff, what did you think of the episode overall if you had to rate it?
I'm gonna give, if we're talking grade level, I'm gonna give it a B minus.
A B minus.
I'm gonna give it a B minus just because it's on the cuff of a C. I kind of felt like the little drama here and there up the grade, but the pettiness of all of the little things was just kind of like, are we serious right now? This is the best we can do. Okay. Y'all got the TV show, I didn't, so I'm not even gonna go there. That's how I feel.
Honestly, I would give it the same, like a B minus, a solid B. It was, I don't know, like you said, it was like little tidbits of drama, but then in between that, it gave nothing.
Yes.
So that's kind of concerning when the cast stories and lives, when they show them individually, can give us nothing. I mean,
It's like, look at this, y'all. We doing this because we need the content. Because personally, I would have advised her to drop this show if it was any other circumstance. We need the
yeah.
content. Until I start adding her on to my movie channels, we need the content. So we gonna just roll with this as best we can because yeah, I don't know how this is gonna go. This is one of those we can't even determine how this is gonna go.
Well, I did take notes throughout the episode. I guess we will start. Hmm. I don't know where to start. So I'm just going to go off of some things that surprised me. We'll start with Nick. I thought that he was a part of the LGBTQ community, and he is not because he was in Jasmine's DM at one point. He was in Shanice's DM at one point. He was attempting to get into someone else's DM, but for some reason I didn't write down the name. I don't know, probably because I was letting you
I
know.
don't. Yeah, I didn't. I don't even think this person was on the show. I think this was like some random person that they all collectively just know.
Yeah.
So, like I said to you and on the video last week, I think they all represent a certain characteristics for LGBT, but for whatever reason, they're going to run with this narrative of being straight. So I said the same thing about Nick. I said the same thing about Alex. I said the same thing. Well, Preston is gay, so we can just eliminate that. And I was questioning Silas a little bit. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
gonna
was.
lie, I was questioning Silas a little bit. Amir seems straight, so I'm gonna give him that. And then the character we were introduced to this episode definitely was straight. So we not even I wouldn't even mince words with that one.
Oh, Phil.
Yes, we'll get to him at the end, y'all, because
I felt like Phil
homeboy was
was,
something else.
he was definitely an interesting character. We'll get into him
Hmm.
later. As for Nick, he was kind of a busy bee a little bit this episode. There was a moment he was talking to Jordan
Hmm.
about Jasmine and Silas's relationship. That was a theme I noticed in the episode. It seemed like a lot of people had their opinions on their relationship. And I guess
Well, it
he's
was two different things happening. Not to cut you off, because I'm gonna lose my point if I don't. It was two different things that was happening. So yes, there was a lot of input from the other cast members about their marriage, how Jasmine was before she got married, and all the dynamics. Them, her, and Mariah bringing up the fact that they were homeless again. Well, kind of Silas bringing it up simultaneously, and then it was also Jasmine bringing it up too, and it was like, okay, it makes me wonder, did she think she was ever going to get married and just happy she did? Like, it was two different things happening at once surrounding this one little marriage, which makes me believe there's something on the surface that they're not telling us.
there's something we definitely don't know. I'm glad you said
Hmm.
that because that was one of the main notes I had. Everybody is talking about it, but then in what we're seeing, nothing is actually happening. So that leads you to believe that something has happened or is happening just off screen.
Yeah, exactly.
And
That's
it's
how I
like
felt
with
too.
how the cast is and it being a new show, just like divulge the information because it's kind of boring outside of that, especially with the location. With Summer House in general, that's why I stopped watching the original one. I feel like they put them in the Hamptons. This time it's in Martha's Vineyard. These are places where like people go to like truly
Vacation,
lounge,
yeah.
like not a vacation, like turning up like New Orleans or Bourbon Street or even Mexico. Like this is like laid back, call a car, have food, go out to eat, like simple type of stuff. So
So I know I'm beating a dead horse when I continue to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Why not change the dynamic of the show where you make them all strangers like you do in the real world? Are they afraid that MTV will sue if they kind of make it? I mean, they can't really sue from the concept because you can, that's not the same name of the show. But I feel like Summer House, they should have all strangers where people do not know each other, have
mhm,
them live into the house, because I think that drama would be more realistic. Because I thought the real world went downhill when they stopped making them get jobs and stuff. Remember, back in the day, the real world, they had to get job. Well, they had a job for them and they had to work and everything. They need to bring that same dynamic back because I think that that would make it more interesting.
well, I definitely think that would help. I know that they
Yeah.
did that. MTV has done that on some new shows. Well, one of them got canceled, but Floribama Shore, they made them work.
Well, they
Um,
made the Jersey Shore cast work at one point
yeah,
when they first were on there, and I think they were
yeah,
trying to mirror the fact that because they were renting out people's houses, and then the people had simultaneous businesses. So they were like, well, to promote our businesses, how about you let the crew work in our shops and then
mhm,
kind of build up the brand that way? Because that's what they did with the Jersey Shore cast for sure. The
mhm,
guy who the house they were staying at, that guy owned that house and then owned a t-shirt shop on the actual shore. So he
mhm.
said, okay, well, for my house, let them work so you can also promote my t-shirt shop. And that was smart. So I feel like based on what I saw of Martha's Vineyard, just kind of Googling estates and everything, it seems like it's
Mhm.
a pretty well kept, pretty rich area. So
Yeah.
I imagine that the people who own these houses, there has to be a good percentage of them that own businesses in the area too. So we can create that same dynamic. It doesn't have to necessarily be you're taking it from MTV, but this cast, to circle it back to them, their drama seems so inauthentic to me that I have a hard time following certain storylines with them.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So let's get into some of the drama. As for them discussing the relationship pertaining to what was her name?
Bria.
Jasmine, not Bree, Jordan and
Oh,
Nick.
and they were at that dinner.
Yeah. So my
Okay.
thing, I'll just give my opinion quickly on the relationship because honestly, I feel like it's going to be an ongoing thing. So I don't want to waste too much time on it. I think I know that Silas said that he's Liberian. There's a cultural difference there, I think, in how they operate with relationships.
Hmm.
This girl chose to marry this man anyway, embrace the culture, had the double wedding, the African wedding, and the traditional American wedding.
Hmm.
She's explained that they're different. I mean, opposites attract. I definitely think there's something lingering in the background, and
It
that
was
may be a piece
sorry.
of why he's so controlling. Because I'm familiar with that culture, so
Yeah, I am too. So yeah,
yes, they're controlling, but the way he is, I'm like, did she do something, or did somebody do something? Something happened because that's very odd when a man is
so
like, I don't like you with this specific friend.
so it gives me, because remember she was homeless. So
Mhm,
it gives me that he had sympathy for her for that, and he used her trauma bond to capture her.
mhm.
Because he said it. He said, I had to make sure we were financially secure because she's been homeless. So it made me feel like you played on that emotion, figuring that she has some sort of like trauma and self esteem inbuilt in that lifestyle. But to me, it seemed like she had a lot of fun with Mariah living in the car because they made it a huge joke and they were able to sustain some sort of career from it. So I really feel like he was trying to play the rescuer, and it ended up backfiring because that's not why she fell in love with him. I think she fell in love with him for the dominance part, because if you notice her
Mhm.
circle of friends, they're all dominant personalities.
Yeah,
And
they are. They
so
are.
it kind of made me wonder is that she has some level of attraction to dominance, as she tries to fit it in every aspect of her life. And what she's understanding about marriage is when you marry somebody who is that dominant and that controlling, you are going to lose the sensibility of yourself that is free, because they're not going to want that for you. So I think that that's why Jasmine really is an issue for them as far as them going out, is because, or not Jasmine, Jordan. That's why Jordan is an issue, because Jordan represents the freeness that Jasmine is, and he doesn't want her to have that. And I thought it was interesting. He was all like, it's New York, it's dangerous at night. And Jordan even said, I would never put her in a compromising position. I'm a
Mhm.
woman single in this, environment, and I have to be, fearful of my safety too. So I would never put her in a predicament where she would have to be all, worrying about her safety. So it just seems like he was trying to find any reason for her not to be friends with Jordan. So it makes me wonder, what kind of events did Jordan take her to, where
Right.
it was where you didn't feel safe? Because it seems like he may have went with them at one point, saw the environment, and was like, "Nah, I ain't with this. And you're not gonna, because you're my wife." That's what it looked like to me.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, I it's probably something like that. I think a big part of it's culture, and I think the other part of it is wherever she was being taken or whatever she was doing where she was being taken. But regardless, wherever she was being taken is the problem.
Right.
Clearly,
Hmm.
I can relate to that. There's some people in the past. My husband's like, I don't really care when you go kick it with that person. But when I would go, it would be to places that it just when I get there, I'm like, what the hell why did they bring me here? You know?
Mhm.
And then I
I've been,
see
yeah, I've been in that situation too, so I know exactly what it is. But the problem is that it makes me wonder: did he meet them before they got married or after they got married? These friends. Did he meet Jordan before or after the marriage?
huh.
Did he meet? Did he meet? I want to call her Simone for whatever reason. What is Shanice? Did he meet Shanice after the fact that they were married? I need to know when he met the
Well,
friends.
they gave some timelines on their relationship. I guess they got together, like became a couple, they said in 2020. She was single for 4 years prior to them getting together. And then in the midst of all of that, I guess he said after 6 months, he knew she was the one, which is really, really fast. On top
Mhm.
of it being really, really fast, it happened during a global flipping pandemic. Like the world was shut down at the time that they got together. And then they kind of just ran into marriage and now they're on a show. So I'm like, this couple, in my opinion, don't know each other from a can of paint. It would be different if you've been together for like a year or something prior
Mhm.
to getting engaged in a time where you could like openly
Which
spend
is
time
why, once again, I asked the question: when
together.
did he meet these friends? Because it seems like he met them after the fact that they were married, and she just filled him in with stories
It's
of
that's
what
what
they.
it's starting to give because
Yes. Mhm.
aside from the fraternity brothers that's in that house, I feel like that's part of the reason they put them in that house.
I
I
would
don't
even say that because there's only one other alpha in the house, and that was Preston. Silence is an alpha. The others are kappas. So
they're a
it's kind of
different fraternity.
yes. So the problem is that there's a little bit of separation,
Mm.
because you see that Silas doesn't really hang out with the other guys, and then the other guys, the Alex, the Nick, and it was somebody else. Who am I? Not Amir. Am I missing somebody?
There's Alex, Nick, Amir,
Who's the Kappas?
Preston, Phil. It's no,
I feel like I'm missing a guy.
no. I the guy who hasn't gotten there yet.
That would be Phil, right?
No, Phil is there. There's a Jason, I believe, or something. Justin. I can't remember his name.
Let me see. I have the
You got the little chart that's
little
going
chart.
around.
Okay, so I guess there's okay. So I guess Alex and Nick are just from the cat. Okay, so all right, so and Amir is Nick's friend. Okay, so that's why I thought of Amir. But even Amir doesn't hang out with Silas. And yeah, the roommate that Jason is Jasmine's roommate, former
Mhm.
roommate. So he's coming later. As I said, I knew there was another guy somewhere in this house other than the boyfriend. But you notice that even Preston doesn't hang out with Alex or Nick. So it's kind of like they are divided as men. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fraternities. I do. So that's why I said it's,
The dynamic, we said it in the first
the
recap,
first one,
dynamic
yes.
is like off.
It's off because they're all centering Jasmine, and then simultaneously they either know of each other or they've met once or twice prior to coming into the house. And
Yeah.
this is where it becomes inauthentic. Either they need to be best friends of a decade or they need to be complete strangers. It needs to be one of the two. You
It
cannot
seems like
have
Bravo avoids putting shows together where everyone is are strangers. It seems if you look at every Bravo show, they all have some history, some linkage, and I'm just like,
yeah, but when you intermingle people of one center person, it becomes this awkwardness of you don't see the guys hanging out. The girls are into beef and drama, which we'll get to. So it's like the house is still divided. So why wouldn't strangers be? Because with strangers, you have to have an obligation to at least get to know everybody and then kind of form your, people who you click with, people you don't click with. Like me, I would do well in a house full of strangers because, like, there has not been one environment that I have been in where not everybody has not gravitated to me at one point or another for different reasons. So,
I don't have that. I'm different.
yeah,
There's no have people either love me or don't
or
like
either gonna love me or
me.
you're not gonna mess with me.
There's no
There's no in between. Yeah, I'm like that too. There's no in between because that's just what it is. So I feel like yeah, Bravo messed up with this show. They really did. It just sucks to talk about it.
It's unfortunate too because it's an all black cast, but
Hmm.
you know,
No, they need a different dynamic. If they get picked up for another season, they need a different dynamic. We need something else.
so the next person I'll get into, because outside of this stuff with Jasmine, not much, in my opinion, happened that made Jordan appear interesting or really any of the females, except the situation with Mariah and Bria. What are your thoughts? First of all, before
So
we get into that,
yeah, explain the situation.
so before I even explain the situation, Mariah, who gives off this energy of just no disrespect, she gives off the energy of Mad Black Woman a little bit. That's just what I get. She is trying to sell us this thing about voodoo piece or something. What is it called? Hoodoo. Hoodoo, not voodoo.
But see,
Hoodoo.
okay,
And I
but
just
see,
didn't get it. She had them outside in the cold and then threw basically a little mini tantrum because people did not want to be outside in the cold on the Atlantic Ocean. They wanted to go inside. She's trying to have them sit in the cold and think about deep thoughts. When it's that cold, those people were shivering.
so this is what I would say. Hoodoo is American folk magic. It's very like she used the wrong terminology. She did say hoodoo, but that's not what hoodoo is. Hoodoo is American folk magic. It's like psychological. So there's lots of things like you put sugar and honey in a jar, and you put the man or woman that you desire on a popsicle stick, and you stick it in the middle, and you put it up on your top cabinet. And supposedly that person's supposed to come living in the home with you, or you put brick dust on your door seal, it's supposed to block. Watch the Skeleton Key. They talk about all about it. But her situation with this wanting everyone to indulge and embrace whatever she's doing, and it was freezing cold, it was like you shouldn't even have gotten offended by that. That was really ridiculous. You have to understand something. If you was gonna do that, you needed to provide shawls for everybody, or or at least give them kind of a heads up
Well,
that you
why
would like to
couldn't they
try.
do it inside? Because she didn't light candles or anything. She just rung. Doo,
Or
doo,
she could have even
uh,
started a pit fire or something. Like it could have been something where the environment could have been more comfortable.
I don't know why you would choose to go outside. There was thunder and lightning showing on the camera. I was like, wait,
Yeah, it was
actual lightning.
interesting. It was like
And
I've
she's
never seen
probably
that.
dead inside. Well, she's holding this metal thing. And I'm just like, you about to get struck by lightning, sister. Like, please.
Yes. And girl, I didn't know what she was doing. It was like, okay, this is not hoodoo, sweetie. This is like you want a camaraderie, and instead of you just saying that,
It looked like a sound bath that
but see, it
and
did. But at the same time,
that's
I've never seen. I thought those had to be in like collective spaces. I didn't know that could be outside in the free. I
her
thought when you do sound bowls, you're supposed to
little,
be like in a hut in a collective circle.
that's true though.
That's what I thought. Because when I looked it up,
Whatever
because I
she
thought about
did,
doing it.
that was her play
Mm-hmm.
of something. I felt like it was honestly, I felt like it was bullshit. It was for it seemed to be for the camera. And I could kind of understand that. And honestly, that's why I wanted to speak on her. Because then if you fast forward to her having an issue with Bree, is it Bria or Bree?
It's
You
Bria.
know, okay, Bria. Her having an issue with Bria. And I'm like, it seems like she picks on who she appears to think is the weakest link or who she has the least closest
In
relationship
common with,
with.
yeah, it did
Yeah.
feel
And
so.
I just, when you're tactical in who you choose to have a problem with, you're just going to turn the people watching off. At least make it look like it's something natural to have. And then to take it a step further to try and get physical. I'm just like, you pretty much confirmed my personal opinion and suspicions of this girl. I was like, I feel like she gonna be the one to like get physical or do too much. And then boom, an episode later, and she kind of
I
proved me
said
right.
that. I said that in the first. If y'all go back to the first episode 1, I said Mariah's going to be the problem. I
Yeah.
said it because I saw it. I literally, when she was sitting down with Jasmine and they were going over, and she first had mentioned that doll and got Jasmine riled up to the point where now Jasmine wanted to. I said, "Oh, I see what you just did."
Mhm.
So it didn't work. So what she did was she took it a step further and inserted herself and made the situation 10 times worse. But I'm gonna say this because I watched the episode 3 times.
Oh, look at you.
I have with these group of people, I have to watch this more than once because I do not understand this dynamic at all. But I'm gonna say this: Bria was wrong.
Mm,
Bria was wrong
mm.
for what happened now, and putting her dog stuff with the clean laundry and mixing it all up. That was nasty and that was wrong.
I have a pet, and I don't wash the items of his with my husband's items.
Exactly.
You know.
That is I saw where she was mad. However, Mariah made it to where it went completely left. And this is where
She
I have the
escalated.
problem. She
Yeah.
escalated the issue to where it went in the direction it shouldn't have went into because it's not like she had a bag of dog shit and threw it in there and it warmed it up. Like, let's keep it real. All she did was, put stuff with the regular things. And to be honest with you, Mariah, you started this shit first because why would you just put her shit in the dryer instead of just going and getting her and say, hey, look, I need to use the washing machine. Can you come get your laundry? The washing machine has stopped. And then this all would have been avoided. For you to say, oh, I put your stuff in the dryer, you did this. This is your fault. So, because there's no way I'm going to come to you. I'm going to say, Aminah, oh, your shit in the washer. Let me just put your shit in the dryer. I don't know how you dry your stuff. So I'm going to say, Aminah, we in this house. I got to do my laundry too. Can you get
I
your.
mean, I think that's for anyone who's lived in a house with multiple people or has used the public laundromat. Leave if it's not yours, just don't touch it.
Just don't touch it.
Just don't touch it. If
Yeah.
you don't touch it, then none of these issues occur. But with Bria, that's what I was kind of getting at in the first recap. I feel like I like that she can calm herself down and then go apologize, be accountable later. But she's got to work on like when people approach her with this doggone dog, every time she kind of gets a little nasty,
It
snarky
gets me.
attitude. It's like the dog, you're talking about an emotional support dog. The dog, why is the dog there? I don't get it. I just don't get why the dog is there. If it was
It
a
depends.
smaller dog, fine. But this is like a dog that could have went and stayed with like your
See,
mom.
it makes me. I need to know what the emotional support dog was for. What trauma did you have
She
where
says
you
all she said was for anxiety.
for
And
anxiety? And that's a big thing. Now, I'm not trying to discredit anyone who has an emotional support dog. Please hear me out. My experience with somebody who has an emotional support dog usually is because they've either lost someone, they're going through an illness, or they are going through some type of depression that's usually centered around loneliness. Those are the three experiences that I have when someone has an emotional support dog. Now, I know, granted, there could be many reasons to get one. I am 100% aware of it, but she's not explaining why, and
well,
the dog
probably
was not
because
invited.
it's some BS. I used to train dogs. I worked in a
Well,
pet
we know, yeah,
store
I know.
for many years. And one of the trainings I did was the certification for a dog to become an emotional support dog. The training is not very intense at all compared to traditional training. And I would say 90, probably 95% of the clients that I had and trained for emotional support certification were just doing it so that they can have a dog in an apartment or a neighborhood where they're not allowed to have a dog, or so that they could have a dog and be able to bring it inside the store instead of having to leave it in the car and rush and stuff. Like, people genuinely will get a dog certified as emotional support dog. It's not hard. The dog barely has to do anything outside of traditional training. It's stupid, in my
I didn't know
opinion.
that.
But like, for some people, as a psych major, yes, pets can be helpful in therapies and with as emotional support. But the training for the dog, the animal doesn't do anything different. They just behave with that same loyalty. They just listen better in public. That's about it.
So here's the thing, people. Now that she's expressed, and this is someone who has experience in this, I do not. If you want an emotional support dog, then you need to get your dog FBI trained. That is a completely different thing. Having your dog FBI, and there's actually retired FBI agents all over the world. I forgot what that website was called because I just looked it up because I thought about it for my dog. But there is like a training where a dog can be FBI trained, where it's literally like you're talking to a human being. They do not go into the bathroom until you tell them to go to the bathroom. They do not eat until you tell them to eat. They don't even bark until you tell them to bark. When you say guard the home, that is exactly what they do. They will guard the home. So if you don't tell them who this person is, they're gonna bite them.
Yep.
That's the training dogs should have, not this semi-quiet. Oh well, I'm gonna teach the dogs the basic necessities, because it sounds like you're training a dog not to be rambunctious and rowdy. That's what that sounds like to me. That does not sound like you're training a dog to be almost human.
Yeah, it's that's why I always say, as a dog trainer, emotional support training is nice because I get to charge more, but I don't do anything different with that than I do from the regular training. But it's good we discussed it, because this doggone dog is going to obviously continue to be an issue. Like, at some point, I understand that you weren't expecting to point the dog, but in my opinion, you're here, you had to film. The dog's not going anywhere. Please
Right.
keep
And
talking
I
about
just
the
want
damn dog.
Mariah going forward, because I want to like her. I do, because I can understand her to a certain degree. Me being a writer myself, I understand her.
She's very relatable.
Yes,
A lot of
absolutely.
different
But where
people.
she loses me is her delivery to people. That's
Yeah,
where she loses me. She
yeah,
loses me on the delivery because it comes across that you're trying to control the entire situation based on your mouth and your words and your appearance. And that's what I cannot get with. I cannot get with someone who is trying to control every basic emplacement that this house can give. This is not right. This is not fair. And for you to do this, Mariah, it just really makes me look at you like, okay, were you invited and was told about Bria? Because something tells me, based on how she's responding to Bria, that Jasmine gave her an earful.
Oh, of course, because in every confessional, all Jasmine can do is talk about Bria.
Yeah,
When what she seems to need to be doing is talking more about her
Mariah.
relationship, because
And yeah,
there's
in that
something
relationship,
there.
yeah, and Silas. Yeah, we need to be hearing more about. No, actually, I don't want her to talk about that because I was annoyed this episode listening to, her getting excited, making some eggs and bacon. Like I was annoyed with that. I'm like, girl,
Look, listen, Linda.
so what? Okay, no one cares. Like
I don't know. The editing also for this episode was like
was
a little,
strange.
it
Yeah.
was strange. We got a little like soft core porn type split scene of them doing adult things in the bed. And I'm like, why?
I don't need to know this. I don't need to know
Right?
this.
I'm like, if
I
I
don't really
notice
care.
this, I know everyone else. Like, why are you filming these people, Bravo?
And then Jasmine and Silas, why didn't y'all say this is a do not disturb moment?
I mean, they
So
had the blanket over them, but it's like, it's pretty.
I'm in my room, in my bed. This is a do not disturb moment. Meaning get up out this room right now because this is about to go down. I do not need y'all in here.
It's like, my goodness, they have cameras
Yeah.
everywhere. Like they just don't want to miss something. That's the part also how the cameras kind of gave me like it's like they gave like a real world type feel, but then they didn't. But the show. Anywho, moving on. A positive thing I have to say about Mariah. I'm going to try and say something positive about any person who has a negative episode. Is I did like the affirmations between her and her son. I thought that was sweet.
I thought that was a beautiful thing
Yeah,
because it's not something that's instilled into boy children when they become men. Is affirmations, positivity, and having them rain on abundance. I actually appreciated that because we do need to start raising boys and men to be men that of integrity because that's something that a lot of men do lack when it comes to them forming relationships,
yeah.
growing with people. It does come across. I'm not saying black men are the only. All men
Oh
need to be
yeah,
taught this. All
yeah.
men.
This is true. I
But
thought that
because I
was
am a black man, I'm going to say black men. Sorry.
because you can,
Because I can.
because you
Exactly.
are one.
Yeah. I wasn't raised like that. So no, no shade to my mama. I was not raised like that. I
I
was
have
not raised.
brothers, and my dad made sure to tell me and my sisters, "You're beautiful. You're a queen. You have this." But my brothers did not get the same thing.
No,
They got
you
love,
know,
but just
I
not.
I was told I was handsome and I was told to be responsible and I was told to always make sure that everything I was my mama's eyes and ears when she wasn't in the room. That's what I
Mm,
was taught. And when you raise children to be that way, it tends to show up later on in the worst way it can when they start forming their own relationships and have their own children and in their own relationships. I had to have years and years and years and years and years of intense therapy because how it looked is that I was trying to control everything because I had to control being the oldest.
mm.
So I can appreciate Mariah in a way that I can't even relate, showing this on TV because it does need to be enforced in our home. So I appreciate that.
Well, outside of that, another positive I would say for the episode is that Bria did appear to be more laid back a little bit in terms of kicking it and stuff. I'm not sure if it was for her to ask if her spouse could come or what, but she seemed less like uppity. I thought that was positive.
Well, yeah, she was humble when they were bowling. It was like when the bowling, because she was, they said she was winning. So, it was great to see her in that element because it did kind of allow me to see, okay, maybe there is some sort of sensibility in you somewhere because it seems like
So,
when, yeah, well, because the only reason why I say that is because she lacks a lot of self awareness. That's why I said I want to know why she got this emotional support dog because I feel like she has it for an incorrect reason
hmm.
of emotional support. I feel like therapy needs to be your emotional support
I
because
mean,
there's something on the surface of Bria that we're not tapping into. And I don't know what it could be because there's a lot of things that I see that are problematic
mhm.
in, you know, her situation, like her living in Germany. That was problematic to me because if you understand, African Americans in Germany are not well received for whatever reason.
Yeah, there's a lot of them though there.
There are, and that's what is so crazy to me. Like if you ask anybody's experience of Germany outside of the tourist attractions, like if you go to like the villages and like the smaller towns or whatever, you're stared at like heavily. Like I remember I had a friend who was stationed in Germany and they would have to go out to the villages all the time. And he said a man spit in his face.
Oh, see.
Yeah,
Well,
and it was like, I don't want to have that experience, but I think a lot of European countries are like that.
yeah.
For a lot of European countries, and it's unfortunate. So it makes me wonder if the emotional support is because she doesn't have very many, you know, probably like similarities where she is versus when she comes
Mhm.
to the States having probably a lot more. It's something like I can't put my finger on it, but I have a feeling that
It's
it's something.
everybody has something to them on this cast that they're not willing to talk about, discuss,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
and it's to a point where for me it's like there's nothing else.
Yeah,
There's
It's
nothing.
Jasmine with this marriage. It's Mariah with this righteous indignation. It's um Nick with this self entitlement like asshole figure.
He is.
It
He
is
is.
to me, him and Alex is running from homosexuality. You can't tell me different. Um, is Preston being too comfortable being just in the center, only coming out when it's drama. It is Silas trying to be this overachiever man child. It's I just can't with this crew of people. I just cannot.
Well, the last person who was introduced on the episode, because that's crazy. We pretty much have gone through all of my
No,
notes.
you're missing Shanice. She was introduced this episode.
She's her and Phil. That's I have them last because they were
Okay.
introduced. The only thing with Shanice, I did not like Nick saying on Instagram it's a different thing in person. This is
Oh, that pissed me off too.
I
It
was
was
like,
like,
well, yeah. On her Instagram, it looks like she had her pictures from when she was working at the Playboy Club. It looks like she's advertising the professional side of her. Gentlemen, women do not wear makeup 24/7,
let's not forget
especially.
she's traveling.
What is
She's
she supposed to
traveling.
do?
What
Be
if she's
on the Delta flight in full hair and makeup and coat
yeah?
with the man and the baby on each side of you? Like, no, no. I'm like,
I
and
was
who
like,
are you?
I said, you old self-pretentious fool. Let me explain something to you. You
He's
was on this
trying.
TV show perpetrating one being straight, two being this fashionista, whatever they call that shit. And the shit don't even go together. What you had on going to this club was ridiculous. And I don't even want to even get into it because I'm
It
tired of
stresses
men
me
like
out.
him.
Yeah,
I'm tired of men like him always trying to down a woman who does not give him the satisfaction or the attention he wants.
mm, mm.
Like it pisses me off because it was like it was uncalled for you to say that about that girl.
It was rude. It was rude. She's a pretty girl. She's Ashley
Beautiful.
Darby's long lost sister,
Okay.
but
Ashley Darby got a whole lot of long lost sisters because on every reality show, I seem to can pick out
somebody who
Ashley
looks like
Darby. Yeah. She got a whole lot of Miss Sheila. You got some explaining to do, baby, because I'm just saying. Ashley got
Shanice
a lot of
didn't.
twins around here.
Shanice though, she didn't. Like she came and I nothing really happened yet. At least not this episode. It looks like in
The
the
only
next.
thing that happened with Shanice was the whole her leaving Bria when Mariah and Bria got into that. I kind of felt two ways about this. So let me elaborate. So when she got in the car with the guys and they all were ready to go out and they were still trying to unwind what happened with Mariah, there was this sentiment that like the girls especially felt like she left Bria out to dry.
Mm,
Now, I felt two ways about this. I understood where they were coming from. I did. But let's not mince word here. It's not like y'all all moved into this house together and are
right.
living here permanently. This is a vacation. Meaning, if two grown ass people want to get into an argument, I am not obligated to stand in the middle of it. I am not
Amen.
obligated to make sure
Amen.
either one of them are okay unless you know, somebody is bleeding, somebody was hurt. They both walked away with it just fine. Their egos were bruised. So I kind of was a little irritated with Jasmine and Jordan for calling Shanice out about not staying there for Bria. It's like
That
Bria
is
is grown.
why I said I didn't feel like nothing happened with Shanice because to me she wasn't wrong. If look, we have a mutual friend who in public has cried over men that she's met and all types of crazy look, gotten into it or gotten too drunk at a bar. You know who I'm talking about. Look, your letter, all you can say when they start looking at you like they gonna get you in trouble with them, it's time to go. Other than that,
Yes.
I'm gonna let you, the adult, legal adult that you are, do
Right.
you. As I can
Exactly.
understand it, these people are 30 plus for the most part, or approaching 30. They're at
Yes.
the age, this cast, where even if they weren't on television, they're at the point of adulthood where they're becoming self-sufficient, hopefully financially independent. Uh, they're at a point
Honestly, let me explain something
where
to
they
you. They
shouldn't
they
be
don't look like
driven.
they all financially independent to me. They look like they are paycheck to paycheck. The only person that gave that he may not be paycheck to paycheck was Phil. That's the only person to me that
Phil,
gave Phil. That's the only person. He wasn't even in this episode that long. Yeah.
I know. That's why I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
He's
No,
the only person.
Silas, because he's always working.
That's not financial. Financial independent means you can put your computer down while you on vacation and make sure and you have a email that says I'm out of office right
Well,
now.
he's in
I
the
will be back.
army. He can't
Then he
just
shouldn't be on his trip.
see. That's the other thing that's about this, just really quick as a side note. Him being in the army as a financial analyst at that and having to work. Exactly. Why are you on the show? I don't get it. But
Yeah, because it seems like your premise is going to be. I feel like somewhere down the line he gonna say, "Well, I have to pay these bills and stuff," and put Jasmine in her place and see. And that's what I'm gonna be like. And then what you going on vacation for if you just come to work? That would piss me off. And see, and that's why once again I can't get with Silas because to me, you taking on all these jobs and listening to the army at 29. What is your background, sir?
yeah, 29 is a weird age to join the army. And then
Now,
when he did
granted, I know somebody who was 33 by age exactly enrolling into the service. I actually know somebody who did it, but that's because Duke was facing being homeless.
oh, okay. So he had to.
Yeah,
That
dude.
was smart.
Okay, so yeah,
Yeah.
because he got okay, because he turned 33 in 2020.
Mm,
So he got into like a financial rut because his job laid him off.
mm.
He was paycheck to paycheck as is, and his father had just passed away and didn't leave a will. So all of that credit card debt came to him.
Sheesh.
So he was messed up. His credit was messed up. Everything. So he enlisted to not only catch a break, but because he was financially stressed, and he felt that was his only way to get out of that. Which it did not get him out of it. He actually got in more debt because now we're 4 years later or 3 years later, and he's in actually more debt than when he started. But he's not homeless. That's the thing. So
More.
yeah, it's just like
Oh,
you don't win.
America.
Yeah, yeah, it's so crazy how this society works, but it makes me
But what
wonder.
I mean by financially independent pertaining to this cast and at their age is like at this age, you shouldn't be living with parents. You should like at least be paying your own phone bill, maybe a car payment.
See, that's not financially independent to me. See, financially independent to me is when you literally want for nothing, can buy just about
That's
anything
financial
you want.
stability. Because then you're stable in your finances. You don't need that. But to
Okay,
be
so
independent,
you and I have those definitions backwards because financially stable mean you stable. If an emergency happened, you might be okay. You know, you got a little,
the
$700,
Ivy
$800
stability
somewhere
is more
that
than
something happened.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So you and I have the definitions
We
backwards.
we
Okay.
have them different because to me,
Yeah.
stability means I should be more than okay. Stability means I should have it all the way
See,
together.
no, yeah, see, financial independence for me means that. That means that I
Either
should be able
way,
to.
as
Mhm.
long as that's the point. At
It seemed
this
like
age,
Silas ain't
they, sh-
either one.
they
That's what,
should care to be that way. And this cast is a bunch of people over 30, and they're to me the I don't know what Bravo is gonna do. This episode was even hard to structure like a script schedule for this live on just because so much happened in so many different places. None of it like
Made
went
sense.
on this chronological timeline that
Especially when Phil
sense.
got there. Nothing made sense. Because
When
Phil
Phil came and he's freaking out about his room, I reserved this room. You can't reserve a room over FaceTime.
the only way that would make that situation acceptable to me is if he paid for the entire thing, which I know he didn't.
Who's paying for this? If it's the show paying for it, then we really know that the drama is bullshit because none of you contributed to the room, so you're all in there just trying to assert
Yeah,
that.
it seems like Bravo paid for all of this house, gave y'all a little $1,500 to come in here for this 6 days or 7 days that y'all gonna be here.
$1,500
Well, I don't know how much they got paid. I'm just throwing out a figure.
because you're probably spot on.
I'm just throwing out a figure. But I'm just saying, I feel one, it gets y'all clout. It gets you, well known as you're in a Bravo family. You get a royalty check if they decide to play this as a playback for a new
They will.
season. Like it just come on. It's a win-win situation. All you have to do is just show your ass, and that's what all of y'all are doing. It's just that's premise.
I'm rooting for the show because the cast is an all African American cast. However,
See, I'm the opposite. I'm not rooting for the show at all.
I
Because
always root
I
for
feel like
Black people, but especially on networks with histories like Bravo. But I know some people may like it, some
no.
people may be excited, but like for
To me, this is premise for Bravo to expose Black people to being crazy, obnoxious, all of the things that people already think Black people are. And I don't want that. I don't want to see people who may be successful in the avenues that they're in, this cast, for example. I don't want them to be here and have a negative intel based on Bravo's perceptions because Bravo's not editing them in a way that makes them feel like, oh, I'm high, successful, and mighty. And the thing about it is, we can't get away with acting like Teresa Giudice on Real Housewives of New Jersey. We can't get away with acting like the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City women. We can't get away with those things. We
Yeah.
have negative stigmas on us as much as possible because you look at the Black Housewives, which we're going to get into that. I'm not going to say it on my channel. I'm going to say it on my channel. I don't know if you want me to say it on yours.
You can.
No, we're going to get into, we're actually going to start off why certain franchises on Bravo do not work. And we're going to start with Married to Medicine. We're going to start with the spinoff shows. And then we're
Yeah.
also going to start with some of the cast members who have left Married to Medicine, who I felt like should have stayed. So we're going to talk about that because I feel like Bravo is painting such a not so pleasant picture of Black people, and this show is a prime example of it because these regular people to me. I know we have a sportscaster, I know we have a real estate agent, I know we have all of these people that have really successful careers. But what I'm saying is that we're not here to showcase your careers. We're here to showcase what you like on vacation. And what you like on vacation is y'all are being like reckless, y'all are being obnoxious. Y'all are being
There's
just the
no
negative.
reason for a potential physical altercation to be happening in the second episode of a show.
Between two women of over some laundry.
Yeah, and you're supposed to be a RN, a nurse.
Yes.
Also, so that I don't know. I agree. I'm trying to avoid politics and things of that nature. But I did notice with this show, even with casting, I said it in our first recap, it seems like they were very specific when filming to cover a Black gay man, a Black fraternity person, someone went to an HBCU. You got somebody like Mariah who you don't know when they're going to pop off. You have the snooty uppity one like Bria. The way that they advertise these people, they played into quite literally every existing stereotype of African American culture.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I'm glad you said it because I try not to
No, we need to start saying these things because we need to start saying these things
there's
because
not one person on this show that I can relate to as a Black woman. So
oh no, there's several. I can.
For
but
me,
the problem is that I relate, I do not mirror them. There's a difference. I relate to Preston. I relate to Alex. And in some degree, I relate to Nick. But what I'm saying is,
The pettiness. I love it.
yes, yes, I relate to Nick. But the problem is that I don't mirror those three men. We're
Of
not
course not.
exactly the same. But when y'all have shows like this that depict people that are our age, that's what happens. And then you don't show them in the light where it's drama. Now, would it be a successful show if they talked about their careers? I don't know. Dr. Jackie
You
is
know
still
what
on
I
Married to
will
Medicine
say?
10
I
seasons
don't.
later.
I don't. This is a cast full of millennials. This cast is our
Right.
age. Millennials, according to my school, is what is it? 85 to 2000 or something like that. The years.
I thought it was 85 to 1994, but I could be mistaken.
No, I think it's 99 because I just my school.
Okay.
It was in
Okay.
a book.
That makes
The
sense.
text. But because I know 2000. Oh my god, they're so loud. They're painting the house next door.
Oh, okay. I
They're
got you.
very loud Spanish. But for this specific show, they're gonna have to, I think, do a recasting for the next season.
I would like them to do
If there is
so.
another season, I think that would help. I mean, I'll continue recapping this until shows like Married to Medicine come back and I can pick up on stuff that is a tad more interesting. But what I wanted to say regarding the millennials is I don't think Bravo as a network, NBC Universal as a network, I don't think from watching all of their, even the sister networks, I don't think they know what to do or how to showcase millennials in reality TV.
I disagree. And let
I
me tell
don't
you
feel
why.
like they know how at all. Because
I
you
disagree
see,
with you. Let me explain something to you. They watch YouTubers. There is a call center. And I use the term call center, guys. I know it's not like an actual call center, but I'm using they have a call center environment where they pay thousands of people to watch YouTubers reviews
they do.
on these shows.
They
They
do.
do it. They do their research. They
Mhm.
hear exactly what they're saying, what
I
we,
don't
what
think
we
it's
all are
enough,
saying.
though.
And
I
what
don't
they're doing is
think
they're
it's enough.
getting the opposite of what we do not want because they know one that's going to bring on ratings, one that's going to bring on controversy. And controversy is what keeps this country still on its feet.
Mhm.
And it's sad, but it does, unfortunately.
Yeah, I
Because if
just
we
feel like when they're translating with the shows with the different, because these housewives, they're all over 40 in most of the
Mhm.
franchises. We have our first millennial housewife on Jersey right now, who's 30, Rachel Fuda. They say she's the first millennial housewife. I was like, oh wow, I did not know
And
that.
Ashley wasn't? Ashley Darby wasn't the first millennial housewife? Because
No,
Ashley,
years ago she was already 30. I guess she doesn't count
what
at all.
year was she born? Because I didn't think she was
No,
that much older than
I have
us. I
I have
thought
no
she was maybe
idea.
36, 37.
She's probably right on that.
Because I'm
Like,
33
us.
and I was born in 90. Ashley cannot be no older than 40. I'm not
No,
gonna
she's
give her.
not older than 40.
No, I was gonna say because I feel like she started I feel like she started at 30 because that was the big thing about her and her husband is that there was such an age difference where she wasn't too
Ooh,
much.
there sure was.
And Whitney Rose from Salt Lake City. I felt like she was, yeah.
Who knows? But either way, it seems like most of these Bravo people are older. It sounds like they use a lot of the same product. I just feel like they need to make changes behind the screen and on screen for us. Overall,
I know we're leaving some things out, like Phil coming in there taking a shit in the boys' toilet and whatever, not
I'm
flushing
not
it.
discussing no grown man taking a poop in
Yeah.
someone else's toilet and not flushing it. If y'all want that, y'all got we could. I'll look. I'm not discussing.
But what did you feel about Amir and him getting into it? I didn't want you to end this without saying this. What did you feel about that? Like, do you think they really are going to fight, or do you think that?
No, I don't think anything's gonna happen. Someone's gonna break it up. Um, I really, I'm telling you, the stuff that did happen, it's they got to figure it out because it's not even worth discussing. It's just like, okay, it was just childish. It was
I
childish
agree.
even for men. Like,
I
okay,
agree.
you took a shit in this toilet and you didn't flush the toilet because
He
he had
has the
the
room you
robe
wanted. Yeah.
that you wanted
And
because you missed your flight.
you see, I did this on purpose, Aminah,
And
because I
then he said,
said,
oh, it's not my fault I missed my flight. Well, whose fault is it?
yes, You see, I did this on purpose because I told you
I
this
did
is
not
what
want to
Bravo
discuss that.
this
It
is what
irritated
Bravo
me.
does. Yeah, this is what Bravo does. They sit up here and they go and they watch the YouTubers to review their shows, and then they get the exact thing that we're telling them not to get. They're getting it. That's the thing.
Bro, well, if anybody from Bravo is watching, I know people from Bravo looked at the SWV recap we
Yes,
did.
yes, they
So I'm
did.
like, if y'all still care about little old me, please, please, please. We, the watchers, as a 31-year-old woman next week, I don't care to see this type of behavior. Like, why? Phil just came in the house too animated for me. It was like,
Phil came into the house like it was his. If Phil came into that house like it was his house, telling everybody come down there and get a drink, and it just was a lot. I did not need to see this.
the
I was
shot
like,
o'clock is corny also. Every time a new person comes or they want to shot o'clock. It's like they're not interacting like you said with each other in this house. They all came together for a shot because everyone was doing work or on their phone or
I will say this though about Phil is that Mariah seems to be really interested.
I thought she had a man.
I thought she did too, but she was so like, oh, okay, Phil, you gonna give it energy. Go back and watch that last part when Phil got there and look at her. She was smitten. Yeah,
Oh,
see, I could tell you weren't paying attention to the. Yeah, I told you I watched this 3 times, and I saw it the first time. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'm just, I watched it the second time. I said, oh, no, there's something there. And then when I watched it the third time, I said, oh, I see. But something I feel like she was gonna be into him, and then something like Bria gonna turn her off of him.
all I know is I thought she had a man. And so I hope that if she has a man, she's not into it. I don't think is there anything else there from the episode you feel was important to discuss or
Mm-hmm.
he said, mm-hmm.
That
No.
that's why I said mm-hmm. There's nothing else to discuss. It was an okay episode. Like I said, we need the content. That's the only reason why we're doing this.
Yeah.
If there was something else on there, we would be discussing it. I will say this. I would like for Bravo once again. I'm gonna say this as politely as possible to people who work into the call centers. Y'all need to do something different. If y'all want to have a show that depicts on Black people, y'all need to do something different.
Please don't show, if you're going to depict Black people, please don't depict the smallest population of African Americans that you could find. Please don't pick the most common stereotypical African Americans that you can find. Go depict real stuff. We have enough bad depictions with the Zeus Network. That's a disaster. With the Love and Hip Hop shows, some of these, like, please, like, you don't have to go to these like bougie Black stereotypes to make a show work. I would hope
Right. You can.
go do something that's realistic. There's a huge Black community in Chicago that's not dangerous and hood. Look at that. Go look at even the Housewives in Dallas. Bring something like that back with more African American people.
Honestly, I
Come
feel
to the
like
Bay
they
Area.
need to.
There's a big Black population here that's trying to hang on.
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
it's definitely a market for African American people, but it doesn't always have to be us being uppity and bougie or
Right.
ratchet and hood. Like, there are those like us who are, normal and different and have common sense.
Exactly. So, with that being said, I have nothing else.
Yeah. There's nothing else to cover. I will continue to do the summer house recaps because I am a Gemini. I like to finish what I start, or to start a whole thing of me not finishing what I start. But whenever Married to Medicine comes back, along with, there's a long list of shows. I know that James wants to recap Bell Collective as well.
Which will be on my channel since Amina's not familiar with it. Bell Collective will be on my channel, so make sure you guys subscribe to that.
Yes.
I'm not going to do Love and Marriage. There was someone who actually commented on, I had to show you the DM, that wanted me to pick up Love and Marriage Huntsville. And I said, absolutely not, because y'all fans are absolutely out of your fucking minds when it comes to Martell Holtz. I am not doing it.
I'm actually caught up now to season 4. of that show. So I'm 2 seasons away from the current, and I've been watching the current episodes of the current season. So I would be open to go over it. I think it's just
she can do it on her channel. I'm not doing it on mine.
I think it's how you control your audience. You don't want, but I'm going to look into how the fans are before I commit to recapping that. Because, for instance, I had a lot of people requesting that I recap these zoo shows. And then I have a lot of people that want me to recap Love and Hip Hop Atlanta when it comes back on TV. And it's not that I'm not current on the shows. It's like you said, the audience. That's a lot to deal with.
Yeah, if y'all people who look at us reviewers were like, I commented on Love and Marriage Huntsville. Shout out to Peach Reporter Daily, the YouTube, not the Instagram page. I commented on, just a reaction from one of the mamas on there, and one girl was all up and down my throat, and I was like, okay, see, that's what y'all Love and Marriage Huntsville people, because that right there.
I think that's just people, though, in general, though. A lot of the people who comment do too much, because that happens to my husband a lot, and he's in music, and he'll comment on something and people jump down his throat. I think some audiences are just a hot mess, but then I don't know. You know who has a good way of controlling their audience? The Kempire. Shout out to the Kempire. I think it depends on how good your moderators are and the ability to control that. Once we get some help with
once we pop enough for moderators, maybe I may reconsider if Love and Marriage Huntsville.
Because
I know they're doing a Love and Marriage Detroit, which I'm really excited about. So
I like that they're doing more shows in Detroit.
Yes,
I do like that. I feel like, dang, the city's been so-called.
I will recap that show because I know who's going to be on it. So at least I heard who's going to be on. I don't know if it's true, but we'll see. I'm not going to say it to you yet because I don't want Carlos coming after me. But yeah.
Carlos King is interesting. I just watched the reunion he hosted on Love and Marriage. But anywho, before we go off on our tangent, that has been the Mrs. B3ST Reviews recap of season 1, episode 2 of Summer House Martha's Vineyard. Hopefully the show continues to get more interesting. I'll continue to recap it until me and James decide to put something else in the lineup. We appreciate all of your support. I thank you for watching. Be sure to head over to youtube.com/@watchyourmouth-reviews 833 in about 14 minutes because we're going to recap Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Yes, Real Housewives of Atlanta. All righty. Y'all come on, bring gas to my channel because, oh, yeah.
It'll be interesting. Because
that episode was absolutely crazy. All right. I'll see you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.